welcome to Whispering Willows. I'm Tanya, and I'm a psychic medium.
I'm Jamie. I'm a psychotherapist.
And today we are going to be talking about past lives.
It's exciting.
So this is exciting, and we were kind of like, oh, let's do something a little spooky. It's not too spooky, but it is kind of very interesting.
Yeah.
With the past lives, we watch some shows, and I've had experience with the past lives. I'm not really sure if you've had any kind of experience with past lives or anything, just a little bit.
Minimal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, there's just so much research and so much evidence on these children, and it's usually small children between the ages of 2 to 5 that are remembering their past lives. And those would be the ones that would remember most because obviously they just kind of crossed over here. There was a show, and it was about 9/11 and how these children were coming out and saying they would be 2 and 3 years old, and I was in this tower, this building I was working in, I was on the 27th floor. They had so much detail.
Wow.
They knew their names, they knew anything like that. And then the parents were all getting together and looking these names up and realizing that all of these children died on 9/11.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they were in the towers. Yeah, so they were in the towers, and so they were describing something that happened way beyond before they were born.
Right.
These kids were born in 2015 or something like that. And so the things they were describing were things that they saw around them at the time that they died. I have had some experience with the past life stuff. So I believe that I met my daughter in her previous life. Because there was this little lady, and she went to our church, and she would bring me candy, and she wouldn't bring anyone else candy. And it was the Mentos, and it wasn't the good fruit Mentos. Okay,
it was the minty
It was the
ones.
minty Mentos. And so she would bring me these candies, and I was just like, okay, I don't know why this lady is so obsessed with me, but she was. So later on, I found out I was probably between 10 and 13. And later on, I found out that that I reminded her of her twin daughters that passed away in a car accident. And so one day we went to her house, my parents, because she was so obsessed with me, she wanted me to come visit her house and see pictures of her daughters. So when I went there, I just kind of looked at these pictures, and I was just like, okay, you know what I mean? Okay, lady, whatever, bring me more Mentos. No, I'm just kidding. But it was just kind of when you're that age, you're not connecting it.
No, yeah.
But me now, I understand that she probably saw my energy. And she probably could read energy. And she thought that, I was one of her daughters.
Aww.
So,
Did they pass away before you were born?
So here's the thing. No, before Alyssa was born.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is that I actually don't know, but they were much older. Alyssa was born in 99. So I've often wondered, but the thing that gets me, that I believe that it was Alyssa, is because her name, they called her Kitty. So it was Kitty and Joe. And she asked me, and for her to ask me this, it's just really it stuck with me. She said, "Do you know why they call me Miss Kitty?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "Because cats have gray eyes and I have gray eyes. And I'm the only one in my family that has gray eyes." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's cool." And so Alyssa has gray eyes. Alyssa is a mother hen. And she even told my mom when she was probably 3 or 4, "I'm just tired of always being the mom." She told her that, and my mom was just like, "Yeah, me too." But they were talking about me or whatever, I'm a child. Alyssa's a Cancer, so we learned that Cancers are the moms. So it makes sense that she came back as a Cancer.
Wow.
It makes sense that her eyes are gray. And then the other connection is that my niece, and here's the other thing. I always thought that I was going to die in a car accident. Before I even met this woman, I always just I'm going to die in a car accident. But that's my past life trauma.
Oh, yeah.
So my niece is younger than Alyssa, and she was born, and she was probably 2 or 3. And she said to my sister-in-law, she said, "Do you remember the time when we died in that car accident?" And my sister-in-law was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said she got mad, like she stomped her foot. And she goes, do you remember we died in the car accident? And so I think that she's my twin sister. I think that my niece is my twin sister. And that Alyssa was our mom.
Yeah.
So Alyssa was Miss Kitty.
Yeah.
And the twin sisters. So I'm thinking, because we all like decide when we want to come back, you know, when we want to experience this life. And I mean, these are the beliefs that I understand, because I've also done like readings where, well, the reason why this person is so, actually the spirits have told me the reason why she's so infatuated with this particular person is because she is that person. You know what I mean? Like in a previous life, she was her great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just that you come back, and I think right now we're having an awakening in the world, and everyone's starting to understand. And like before, you know, this wasn't really talked about. And then some of the studies that they have, they talk about how in countries where reincarnation is accepted, that they have more experiences there because they're more open about talking about it.
I can see that.
So yeah, one of the stories was about this girl, and she remembered that she was hit by a bus, and she used to sell incense, and it was in India. They believe in reincarnation. And she sold incense, and she was a boy. And one day she was like, so this is in her new life. She was walking around and she saw this man, and she said, that's my brother-in-law. She knew it was her brother-in-law. And so the families got together, they met, and she knew everything about the incense. She knew that they had changed the color. She said, why did you change the color of the incense? Why did you change the packaging? Like, why, like their family sold incense. And so she knew everything about them. She knew about the sisters and the brothers and stuff, and the ones that she was the most close to. And they accepted that this was their brother reincarnated into this little girl.
Aww.
Yeah. So it's just like, there's just so much evidence that I've seen, you know, that takes place. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think that I have so many people that are just like, oh, no, it's just black space. Like, really? That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I believe that our souls, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I believe that there's a purpose, and that like we are put here for a reason, and we know what our purpose is. Like, our soul knows what our purpose is. Right. And I believe that our soul keeps coming back, you know, with a new purpose.
Right. I feel like there's so much to learn here on Earth. And I think that like we keep coming back with different lessons we need to learn.
Yeah.
And the thing is like there's an awakening going on, so there's new things that are being learned all the time that you need to, you know, figure out or learn as part of your soul purpose. You know, you're not just here to like work and eat and do it all over again the next day.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that there's just so much to say about, you know, in your past life. And like I said, like my one uncle, I don't see him anymore, and I'm convinced that he's come back here on Earth because I was seeing him like very frequently.
Okay.
And now I don't see him anymore or feel him.
So that happens for you, like if the spirit comes back on Earth as a new person, like they don't visit you as much anymore?
Well, they don't visit me because they're here on Earth. The thing is like, where is he going to show up? Like, I know his energy. And the last time that I saw him, he was in my dream, and he was at a hospital, and he was learning, like, basically how to be a doctor. And I'm kind of thinking that my cousin, so it's my cousin's dad, and she had a son after my uncle passed away. And I want to say around the time that she had him is around the time that I stopped seeing him. And I feel like he's come back because there's something he needs to learn from her, and she needs to learn from him, you know?
Yeah.
So like, because a lot of times like your soul family, like you have a soul family and you'll like travel together.
Yeah.
And I actually was thinking about this the other day. I was like, how do I and Alyssa connect to like my mom and dad? But they lived in a small town, so like they could have like went to school with my uncle who passed away. I want to like, my mom said, I don't know if he knew them, but I feel like he knew them, and they like passed away, and he knew them, and there's some kind of connection
with Miss Kitty.
With the girls that passed away, I think that they might have went to school together. And there's some kind of connection that way, but my uncle's passed. And I just feel it, like the connection that I have with my uncle is very like close. So I feel like somehow they're connected, and like they only lived probably like 2 miles from each other. Like my grandparents lived, you know, it's the same town, so it was probably 2 miles, 2-3 miles away from each other, because I remember where the house was. And actually, I was just thinking this other day, I was like, I wonder if I took Alyssa to that town and we drove around to where the house was to see if she would like recognize. I think Alyssa just kind of like, she just listens to me, but we're so close. Like me and my mom are not the same as me and Alyssa. So I just feel like we are so close. Like our bond is really tight. And her and Charlize, who's my niece that said that about the car accident, they're very close. Like if they get in an argument, they can't like, they cannot handle being in an argument with each other. Like they have to solve it. You know, and like, so they are like really close, and then me and Alyssa are really close. And like I said, she's always acted like she was my mom. Like no matter what, you know, she still like watches me and sees where I am. Why are you here? What are you doing? I'm like, girl, you live 700 miles away from me. Please stop. Like, let me live my life, you know? So I just think that with all the evidence, like there's a college in Virginia where they've got all of this evidence, and it's like thousands of children.
Really?
And it said like but the most evidence is in locations where they believe in reincarnation because they can talk about it. Like here in the U.S., there's a lot of like, we don't talk about that, you know, kind of thing, or not listening to your children. You know what I'm saying? Like they mention something, and I will talk to Peyton and I'll be like, what did you do before you were here? And she said to me, now we're not going to talk about that. And I'm just like, what does that mean? Like, tell me, what does it mean? You know, like she's 4, so like she's in the, you know, little realm. Houston doesn't talk as much. He's younger, but I'm interested to like the way they play with their toys and stuff like that. Like one of the kids, he kept saying, oh, I was in the war and my plane got shot down. And he knew his name. He knew what year he passed away.
Wow.
And they looked it up, and that guy was in World War II, and the date that he passed was right, and his name was the name that little boy that was like 3 or 4 said the name. Like just to say someone's name, like, oh, my name was blah, blah, blah. You know?
And I think it's so interesting because, you know, parents probably just like brush it off as, oh, they have such a wild imagination. You know, where do kids come up with these things? Which, I mean, I might do that too. I don't know, but
I like watch my grandchildren and the way they play. Like I'm fascinated because I'm like, where did they learn that? You know, I question. I'll say, Alyssa, where do you think that she learned this or he learned that? I know that we went into like a spiritual store one time with Peyton, and she was like 3. And we're walking around, and there was like, you know, spiritual stores are a little bit divided. There'll be like a side where it's all like Glinda the Good Witch, and then like you know, like the stuff that's very questionable, and you're just like, okay, like that's kind of cool, whatever. But we're like walking around, and there was like this black dog, and he had like red eyes, and she looked at him, and she goes, ooh, 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 like that. And I was like, what? Like, why would she like have the same reaction that we might be like, oh, this is kind of a little dark. You know what I mean? Like, she's only 3. How would she know? She doesn't watch like scary movies. She doesn't, you know what I mean? It's something that happened to her in her past or she knows about. So like she's remembering. You know, so anything that's like traumatic and stuff like that. Also, birthmarks. So me telling you about the girl in India. Her birthmark was like right here on her side in her stomach. It was a huge birthmark. And they said that the wounds from the boy that got hit by the bus those were his impact wounds and how he died.
Oh.
So your birthmark can indicate like how you died in a past life.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe not the life before this, but maybe even a previous life before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if you've got like an interesting birthmark, like usually that's how you died in one of your lives.
Interesting.
You bring it here. Yeah. So a lot of people have like these past traumas that they actually have to heal from their previous life, and like people that have phobias, fear of water.
Yeah.
They probably drowned in their previous life.
I must have been attacked by a snake in my previous life.
Oh yeah, I don't like snakes either. I don't know. I think that we're just kind of like taught that like snakes are bad.
Well, they
You
are.
know what I mean? Like they're really like, well, I think here in the South it's scary because they're poisonous, and like who has time to study it and make sure that it's not poisonous before I get close to it? You know what I'm saying?
I don't care if they're poisonous or not. They're still gross.
Yeah, I'm not getting close to them. I just know, like, when I moved to Ohio, the kids would just, like, pick up snakes, and I'd be like, what are you doing? I was like, we are not doing this. When we go to Georgia, no one pick up a snake.
No.
Like, you cannot, because they're not poisonous in Ohio.
Yeah.
But we have so many poisonous snakes down here that it's like, don't touch it. Stay away from it.
Yeah, so I definitely had some snake trauma in my past lives.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, there's definitely, like, different fears and stuff. People have, like, a fear of heights. So, like, maybe they, like, went off a cliff, or they like fell out of a building. Maybe they jumped out of a building.
Yeah.
Fear of like fires and stuff. I mean, like there's people that can't even sit around a bonfire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're scared of it. My grandmother was terrified of water. Like we would go to the lake, and my grandpa, they would sit at like a picnic table, and my grandma would be like, come in, and she'd be sitting on this side of the picnic table, and he'd be behind her on the other side of the picnic table, and he'd be going, go out, just go out, like, because she was just so scared. Like she didn't want us to be near water, even going to like the creek when there's like, you know, not that much water in it. She was just like very cautious. And so I was like, she must have drowned in her previous life, because she is terrified of it. She would not get in the water. She would not go to the pool. She would like, I do have pictures of her with a bathing suit on, but she's like in the yard. You know, like she's not going to the pool. She's never going swimming. You know, so.
Have you ever seen the movie or read the book, The Art of Racing in the Rain?
No.
That's a good one.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't want to give away too much, but it's narrated by the dog.
Oh,
In the movie, Kevin Costner, I think, is the voice of the dog.
Wait. I think I did see this.
Did you? The Golden Retriever?
Yes. Because you know who made me watch it? Freaking, what's his name? Made me watch it. He has it on his Apple. Yes. I did watch this.
You
yes.
did?
It's really good.
It's really good. And
yeah. And at the end, yeah.
Yes. And so that, like, you know, we talked
Yeah.
last week about healing from animals and how important animals are to us. And
Yeah.
that movie, I don't want to give it away if anybody
Yeah.
hasn't seen it.
It's really good.
But it helped me, like, have a different perspective on, like, when our animals do pass over.
They come back into your lives.
Yeah. And
They
so
definitely do.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, they can come back into your lives as, like, so many different things.
Yeah.
Like, you never know.
And, like, the dog in the movie was, like, talking about, you know, if only I had opposable thumbs, I could, like, open this door and go get help or whatever the thing was. But,
right. Yeah, that is such a good movie.
Wanted to come back as a human.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so.
that's a great movie. Yeah. I cried, like, during the movie. I actually just watched it probably within the last 3 months. I just forgot about, like, the name of it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everyone should watch that. But yeah, it does like kind of do that thing. What was the other one? There was one that was like back in the 80s where it was a reincarnation. Is it All of Me? Was Steve Martin in it or something? I don't know, but she like reincarnated
Oh, really?
into somebody, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
But she like jumped into their body. There was already somebody in them, but she jumped into their body. I don't know how I feel about that part, but people have said that people, like, there's some kind of evidence where people that go into a coma come out and they don't have their memory because another spirit has jumped into their body.
Really?
Mm-hmm. People that have, what is it, where they get hit on the head and they, like, lose their memory?
Amnesia.
They're saying, like, some of those amnesia cases, that they actually have a memory, but the memory doesn't match the memory of the person. So it's a different spirit that's jumped into, you know. Yeah.
Also, what about, like, I've heard stories of somebody gets a heart transplant and then, like, a dog recognizes them based on their heart and the person whose heart it was originally. And then, like, it's,
it's like the energy of that. Okay, so everything that, like, I used to buy antiques, okay? I don't buy antiques anymore.
Really?
I don't, because there's energy attached to them.
Oh.
So, like, someone could have loved this so much.
Yeah.
And they, like, you know, took such good care of it, and then you bring it into your home. Their energy comes along with it. It's got some kind of energy connected to it.
But wouldn't they be happy that you're taking care of their peace?
Everyone is not, like, it's not always like that, necessarily.
I would be happy if somebody took care of something that was beloved of mine.
Right. But the thing is, like, some of the energy is just energy that comes with it.
Yeah.
And it's that person's energy before they passed or something like that. And, like, everything holds energy.
Question. Do you believe that people choose who they come back as or what they come back as?
I do believe that we kind of, like, create this, I don't want to say like a contract, to come into other people's lives for a reason. So you do kind of, like, pick and choose when you're ready to come back.
Yeah.
You don't have to come back, but if you have more to learn, you kind of do continue to come back, because we're all learning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're trying to get to the higher ground. So you're trying to get, like, you know, like right now we're mid. So when you start off, you could be, like, lower, but you have to be mid just to come to this plane.
Yeah.
So, like, once you start working your way up to, like, you're just learning more and more, eventually you won't have to come back because you don't have anything else to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like there's so many things that's happened to me in my life, and I'm just like, yeah, I can totally see, like, how this has taught me this and that.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a reason why it happened. So, you know, I don't want to say, like, I dismiss things that happened to me, but I'm like, this was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it, and I'm at peace with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's a really cathartic perception to have, right? Like, even, like, when people have anxiety about, well, what if this thing happens? Like, you know, what if this worst case scenario situation comes true? Well, okay, what if it does? Well, then maybe that's what was meant to happen for you.
Right.
You know, like, I just think that's such a, like, peaceful way of looking at it.
It is peaceful, and it gets you out of your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be in your head is not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, at all times. And I think that we, as humans, having this spiritual experience, like, well, as spiritual beings having this human experience, we, like, get stuck in our head and thinking that, oh my God, why did I do this? Because now it's turned into this. Well, just turn it into something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what was supposed to happen. So this is the way it's going. But every choice, like, we have free will. So, like, every choice that we make, there's going to be something that happens. There's going to be a consequence, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's still a consequence, you know, situation. So you have choices, you have options. So when you make the right choice, like, you get a good consequence. And when you make the wrong choice, it's going to redirect you down this path. And you'll find yourself, like, going over the same lessons because you're not getting it.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, why does this keep happening to me? If it keeps happening to you, it's because there's something that you're supposed to learn here.
And I don't even think that we can call it a wrong choice.
No,
right?
We're still learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No matter what choice you make, you're going to learn from it. You know, like, there's always going to be like, oh, well, I have this option or I have this option.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, which one's going to be the better option?
The devil and the angel.
Yeah. And it's just like, and they could be both, like, really good options, but they're each going to teach you something different.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think we're here to keep learning, and then we just keep coming back. And, like, I think that we choose our parents, Like, because we're supposed to teach them lessons.
Yeah.
Like, our parents think that, oh, I'm here because I have to raise this kid and I have to teach her everything I know. But in the meantime, your children are teaching you something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that I've taught my parents a lot. I know that my daughters taught me a lot. You know what I mean? And just like with you, with animals and stuff like that, they're teaching you something.
Yeah.
Like the options that you have, whether, you know, you're going to take this animal or that animal. You know what I mean? Like, they're all going to give you, you know, that healing that you want, but in a different way. And you're going to learn something different from them.
Yeah, probably different than what I expect.
Exactly. So I just feel like every opportunity and people come into your life. So like you have like these soul connections with other, like everybody's like, oh, soulmates. Well, they are soulmates. You have multiple soulmates, not just romantic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like maybe we were, you know, brought together so that we can do this and like kind of like get this out to the universe and the plane and let everyone know, hey, this exists and this is what, you know, we do. And so there could be a reason for this happening right now. I mean, everything,
Totally
there's a reason for everything that's happening right now. You know, I feel like I've learned a lot from you because we both have like different perspectives on things. So I think that we learn from each other, and anyone that I'm going to learn from, I'd like to keep those people in my circle. Yeah. You know, if you're not adding to the value of my life, I'm really not interested. You know, that's just who I am, you know, as a person, because I feel like I know what I am here for. Yeah. You know, and I'm just like, I don't have time for the, you know, nonsense.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I love Pink, the artist.
Yes.
And she, I don't know the exact quote, but she essentially says, like, I chose this life. I chose all of the struggles that I went through, and I chose all of my trauma, and I chose this route.
I love her.
I love her too, and I love that mindset too. Like, I chose to be here. And even though situation A sucked and situation B was a little better and situation C changed me forever, like, I chose all of these things.
Exactly.
Like, my soul chose to be here.
Exactly.
I love it.
That's exactly what it is. It's like we chose this. It's just like when you make a choice, it's your choice, and then it backfires on you, and people get like all upset, and it's like you chose that.
Yeah.
Like, you made every single thing that is happening to you is because of you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And people want to try to blame things on other people, and it's like, no, this is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And it's happening because you made this choice. So you have to like work through like this is like, imagine if like everything was perfect and we went through the world and we're just like,
everything
you know,
worked out the way we planned.
That would be so boring. Like there would be no, like, it'd be very Stepford Wife, like there would be no excitement. And you know, we wouldn't be learning anything. We'd just be going about our business, like cooking roast and, you know, whatever, you know, it would just be boring. Yeah. So that's not what we're here for.
Yeah. And it's so, like, I think it's hard to get into that mindset.
Oh, for sure.
You know, because we are human beings and we get in our head, and it's, you know, it's easy to get into that, like, poor me, why is this happening to me headspace. I'm totally guilty of that. But I think it's also like when you can get into the other way of thinking, like, okay, this happened for a reason. What am I learning from this? Like, I think it's super empowering.
It is empowering.
And, like, brings, like, a sense of peace.
Just like when we were talking about before how, like, the American dream, like, you get married, you have a kid, you get a white picket fence house. Like, that's not my dream. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I did it because that's, you know, the norm. Like, you get married, you have a kid, you buy a house. Like, I did all the things. I learned that maybe, like, I don't want I don't want all that. I know that life is not perfect, and, you know, that I did have struggles, and I learned from all of those. I mean, I've owned 4 houses at this point in my life. I've been married. I feel like I've had so many experiences. Yeah. And I just feel like right now in my life, I want to just, like, be able to go and travel. And, like, if I want to, like, move to Wisconsin tomorrow, I could.
So from, like, a past life / soul perspective, Why do you think your soul chose this path for you? What are you supposed to be learning?
I feel like, okay, so we were talking about astrology and the charts and stuff like that. So whenever you have, we're gonna have to do more stuff on the charts and stuff. So whenever you have like 3 or more planets in a house in your chart, it's called a stellium.
A what?
So a stellium.
Okay.
So a stellium is going to be like a place in your life that is like your purpose here and what you're supposed to like be doing here and how you're supposed to handle it. In mine, my stellium is in relationships. And we know that like I've been through it. Like I've been through it, but the thing is like because of my placement, like it makes sense. Okay? Because I'm actually trying to find myself through relationships. Where in the norm, like people are like, "Oh, you don't do that. You just find yourself." Like I already know who I am. But when I get into a relationship, it's like I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I need to create a relationship or get in a relationship where like I find me in that and like I'm learning how to coexist because I'm so independent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some people are like codependent. I'm absolutely not. And like my life lesson is to basically learn how to like work with others, you know, coexist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like ask for help, like those kind of things that I don't do.
Yeah.
You know, and be able to lean on another human being that will be there for me and let go of like trying to control everything. Like I know that.
So
you know?
what if and obviously I want your parents' surgeries to go well and I want your parents to live a long, healthy life. But just saying, what if you did have to pick up and go take care of your parents next month? Yeah. And the person you're meant to be in a relationship with is like a doctor at the facility they're at.
All right, I'm going to pack tonight and then I'm going to... No, I'm just kidding.
Now, I have a question on past lives. Do you feel like, okay, you said Alyssa is like, you know, motherly, you know, she was Miss Kitty. So could her soul be older than your soul? Okay.
Yeah, I feel like...
or like, I guess, have been here more times.
Yeah, I think it's about more times because I feel like all of our souls were like, it's like we were created all at the same time.
Okay.
Like, so we can come back as many times as we want.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like she's wiser than me in a lot of ways. Like, definitely, I just watched her as a teenager versus me as a teenager. like she did her stuff, okay? Like she definitely did stuff she wasn't supposed to be doing. But I did stuff that you know, I'm just like, thank God she didn't do this stuff. You know what I mean? And then like she so quickly moved into the mother role, and like her taking the mother role with her children was so different than me. Like I was almost like, I don't want to say crushed, but I was like, life is over. Now I have to do, you know what I mean? Like with her, she's just like, oh, I have these little people and like, I'm going to like turn them into this and I'm molding them into this and that. And like, I'm just over here. Like, I just remember crying in the floor of her bedroom because I hadn't slept in days. Oh. And my husband comes in and he goes, what are you doing? And I was like, she won't sleep and I can't get to sleep. Like, I was just like not, you know, prepared. And like, it was like, she was just like so natural at it, you know? And I'm just like, dude, I'm not, this is not me. Yeah. You know, it was like, I don't think, like, I think it crossed my mind to have another child, but I was just like, I can't. Yeah. You know, I was just like, it was a lot. The baby, even with my grandchildren, I actually don't think I've changed any of their diapers ever. Like, I just don't. Like, I've told my daughter, I was like, I did my time. Like, obviously, if she, like, really needed my
Yeah.
help, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
maybe her arm fell off. I'd be like, okay, I'll show you some. No, but, like, I just am like, I'm the Coco.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do. So I do feel like my soul is so much younger, like, as far as, like, how many times I've been back.
Yeah.
Versus how many times she's been back.
Yeah.
Like, she's, like, wise beyond her years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? She's still, you know, in her 20s.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But she catches on really quickly, and she told me at a young age that, like, Mom, you're right about all this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, like,
yeah,
thanks.
Now, do you think that your parents' souls have been here fewer times than yours, and that's why you feel, like, almost maternally towards them?
I don't, you know, I feel like, you know, I worry about them. Obviously, like, they're my parents. I love them. But I get, like, more than anything, I really get angry with them.
Gotcha.
Because it's only because of the fact, and it's almost like a bratty kid is the way that I act about it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that my soul is older or has been here more times.
Yeah.
But I do think that I'm supposed to help them and teach them and stuff like that because they're a lot more closed off to things. You know what I mean? Like, my dad's more so. So I feel like my dad's probably, like, a young, you know, he probably hasn't been here as many times.
Yeah.
And my mom, I feel like she's, like, we're probably, like, on the same level, but she's, you know, she's not as open as I am, but I think she is, but she doesn't, like, let it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that there's just a lot that we have to learn from each other, you know, but yeah, I do agree that I think that some souls have been here so many more times than other souls, and, like, maybe, like, that's, like, what the zodiac is about. Like, maybe I'm the youngest soul because I was born under the sun of Aries. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, maybe you're, like, a super old soul because you're born in Pisces.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, like, we have so much to learn from everyone, and everyone brings something different to the table.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, it's interesting. It's I mean, even when I watch that stuff on here, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, even though
it's very
like
fascinating.
Yeah, and I, like, know that it's happening because I, like, do readings, and I, like, know that this person is no longer available for me to talk to them because they've apparently come back. I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
But
now, do you think that, like, we have the ability when we come back to, like, run into our
yes,
past people?
Yes. I think that we keep teaching each other lessons. Like, we keep, like I said, like a soul group. Like, you have, like, a soul family, and you kind of, it's almost like you travel together, but you pick, like, different times. Who's coming in at this time? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? I mean, if you think about, like, your major relationships in your life that were, like, outside of your family, like, how that person just all of a sudden popped into your life, and you're like, where the heck did they come from? But you learned something from them.
Yeah.
You learned something from that. There was a reason. Yeah. You know, why they just all of a sudden popped into your life. So every time someone pops up in my life, like, unexpectedly or not, I take into consideration, like, what are they here for? You know what I mean? Like, even if I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous, I don't, you know you're about to waste a lot of my time. But there's something that, you know, people don't just connect for nothing. Yeah. And I feel, like, very strong connections. I like, have to connect with people on different levels. Yeah. So I don't let people in that aren't going to be able to connect with me on those levels. Like, I ignore a lot. Yeah. Because I'm just like, that's not something that I need in my energy, you know? Yeah. So I think it helps me, like I told you, as an Aries, like, get to the next level. Right. Is what I'm basically trying to do. Right. At all, like, all aspects of my life. I'm just here to, like, just keep climbing. Yeah. Like, if I, you know, I want to travel, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. You know, and that's why these people need to stay healthy for 20 years so that I can, like, do me. And, like, maybe it sounds selfish, but this is my journey, and, like, this is my play. Like, I've talked to a lot of spirits, and they're just like, look, this is just, like, you make this up as you go. Like, you make it happen. Just like with manifesting. Like, you manifest what you want. Yeah. Like, what is the next, you know, section in your story? Like, who's on stage next, you know?
And I think as a Pisces, I'm always striving for just to bring it down a notch, like peace.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
less drama, less nonsense, like less
Yeah.
noise, less chaos. Like
Right.
I'm just always trying to like
Mm-hmm.
find the peace and the quiet.
Yeah. And like I think as we get older too, like we realize that we need peace.
Yeah.
Like it just helps us like feel better, and like that's why I'm like, if you're over here making a lot of noise, I'm like, all right, well, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to just keep chugging along and go past this and kind of leave them behind.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't, you know, carry you
Yep.
with me if you're gonna, you know, make a big fuss about something.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I mean, it's interesting. It's
I
fun.
think it's really cool.
I think it's like great stories.
Yeah.
So everyone should watch some of these. Like the
Yeah.
one with the 9/11, like that was wild because they had so much detail.
Do you remember what it was called?
I want to say like Children of 9/11 or there is one that's just like past lives, children's memories or something. Like there's a lot of them. Like
Gotcha.
I don't know. I can't remember the names of all of these, but
Yeah. And The Art of Racing in the Rain is the one
yes,
with the dog.
that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Art of Racing in the Rain
Yeah.
is really, really a good one. So, but next week, let's talk. We're going to talk about life transitions.
Yes.
So,
We've both had plenty of those.
yeah, we've got some expertise over here.
Yeah.
Like just starting over.
Yeah.
Like how many times? So,
We'll talk about how to navigate those tough times.
yeah. So we will see you next week. Let us know what else we can talk about. Give us some ideas. We've got a long list, but if you have something that you want us to talk about sooner, let us know. We'll probably revisit the horoscopes and like astrology again.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got a lot of upcoming things we're going to talk about, but we'd love to hear from our listeners. So don't forget to like us, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.